los ojos. Open your eyes.
Well,
That's
what
what
happens when you have me recording at midnight.
He's literally in two places at once.
Oh, that reminds me of what's that movie that Walk to Remember?
A Walk to Remember.
Oh, I love that movie. We should have done that movie.
Oh my God, Brandon! I really tried so hard with this movie.
Oh, are you fucking kidding
Well,
me?
let's start.
I am
You
ready
don't know
to
yet, though. You don't know
crying
yet. You don't
right
know
now.
yet. I'm
I
on
do
the
know.
fence.
Gentlemen,
I'm on the
gentlemen,
fence.
gentlemen.
Okay,
I'm on the
I'll-
fence.
Eddie, just jump over right into the barbed wire. It's okay. Welcome to another episode of Season 4 of 3.5 Gentlemen, the podcast, where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, and one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Jeremiah,
Open your eyes, yo.
Eddie,
I'll tell you another life when we are both cats.
I knew you'd go with that one.
and
The
Brandon.
sweet is never as sweet without the sour. Boom. Jason Lee was cool.
Ooh. Of course, you had a quote for this
I
movie.
had that one.
Jason
Yeah.
Lee was cool.
Oh my God, he was.
Yeah, Jason Lee was cool. What happened to that guy?
He became Earl.
Oh, Jason Lee has always been
He
cool
was a fucking
and continues
professional
to be
skateboarder.
cool, and
That's cool.
yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
I just lost him in the in the Alvin and the Chipmunks
Now that
movie.
and then he was Earl.
Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or
Man.
6?
There's 6 of them?
We're
I don't
working
know.
on 7
I
8
don't
too
know.
now.
It's like James Marsden. All he does now is animated films like Sonic.
You
I love
watch your
James
mouth.
Marsden.
James Marsden is a
Oh my God, have you seen
treasure.
Dead to Me?
All right, so can I?
No, you can't.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh my
Go
God.
ahead.
Dead to Me is amazing.
Dead to Me is amazing. I agree.
is. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see how train wreck this is, what Brandon wrote here. With season 4, we were picking movies that we just want to talk about. That said, after choosing the movies for the season, we have grouped them into specific categories, including influential directors, messed up love stories, blockbusters, and beyond. Additionally, throughout the season, we will be including some new releases in theaters and streaming, as well as a TV series or two.
As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question. How many drinks does it take to get through the film we've just watched? Now, at the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie based on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 being the perfect film that you could watch stone cold sober, and 5 being the sort of film that makes you want to get into someone's car, only to have them or her drive that car off a bridge, shattering your face in the process, and then
Fucking you
being
up, though.
frozen for 150 years.
And beyond.
And with that, what
Oh, I love something.
movie are we going to call it? Do we have Dancing Under the Stars toward
No,
us
that was
tonight?
actually not for this movie.
I think
that
that's
was
from
from-
La
yeah,
La
that was
Land.
good. That was All right. Well, tonight we have my pick, as you can tell, and that is the underrated, I think, 2001 mindfuck of a movie, Vanilla Sky. As director Cameron Crowe describes it, Vanilla Sky is about David Ames, who, quote, appears to lead a charmed life. Handsome, wealthy, and charismatic, the young New York publishing executive's free-willing existence is enchanting. Yet he seems to be missing something. In one night, David meets a girl of his dreams and loses her by making a small mistake, which I don't think it's that small of a mistake. It's a fucking big mistake. Thrust unexpectedly onto a roller coaster ride of romance, comedy, don't see that, suspicion, love, sex, and dreams, David finds himself on a mind-bending search for his soul and discovers the precious, ephemeral nature of true love. That's what he said it was. So we can talk about that later. This movie stars Tom Cruise, Penelope Cruz, Cameron Diaz, Kurt Russell, and the one and only Jason Lee. Vanilla Sky has an IMDb rating of 6.9 out of 10, has a critic score of 43%,
Holy
and an
shit,
audience score of
that's
72%
way high.
on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think makes it officially the lowest rated movie that we've ever reviewed. Like I said, it's underrated.
I mean, Brandon, to your point, this has actually become a cult film
Yes.
now recently.
I can see it.
However,
Oh, God, there's a however.
Ugh.
however,
As with
so-
every as with every movie we review, we try and pair a selection with a cocktail that we feel reflects the film. So, Ed, why don't you take us through the cocktail that we will be enjoying this evening to numb away the terribleness of this
It's
movie?
a great movie.
This one, guys, tonight, guys, if you're listening to this, you definitely have to make this drink before you.
This is yummy.
You make this one. Go ahead and make like 4 or 3 before you watch this movie. Just put it chilled in the like
Maybe
yeah.
5.
So tonight, guys, we're
better
drinking
not.
the Vanilla Sky vodka cocktail. For this drink, you'll need 3 ounces of vanilla vodka, 3 ounces of orange curacao, 1.5 ounce of almond syrup, 1.5 ounce of lime juice, and a half cup of pineapple juice. Pour this into a shaker of ice, shake it up, pour out, and let your mind wander freely.
Yes.
And just freely.
And Sean, I just want you to remember that
2.5
just
hours.
get
I did
weird
not
right now
vote.
and have a
Yeah,
drink.
I didn't vote your movie as a 5. I wanted you to know that I was open to what other people said.
I would pick a movie that didn't want to make me vomit all
Let me
over
just say
the
this before we
doorstep.
start. Wait. I want to say this
So-
before we start. That this is Tom Cruise has said that this is the movie that he's most proud of making. So I'm just throwing that out there. This one.
He should substitute that for Far and Away. And be
Tom
happy.
Cruise
Minority
is fit.
Report.
I'll give you that. Tom Cruise was 38 or 39 when he recorded this. I saw 2001, top of his game.
So I want to start off with what I kind of went into this movie. I had a negative a negative thought process going into the movie slightly. I did not care for the tone. I have seen bits and pieces of it. I remember some elements of it, and I remember I didn't quite like what I saw.
I was scared.
And so I will admit that I did go in with some negative aspect. And I do want to praise the movie here because I think, and this is very difficult for me to say because Penelope Cruz is not my favorite actress ever, but I thought her relationship and her charisma with Tom Cruise, their back and forth banter was absolutely fantastic.
Agreed.
I thought that they really hit it off, and I was so looking forward to this. I thought it was going to be this like spiral because he stole his friend's girl, and then the board was after him, kind of like The Game, Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. That's kind of where I thought it was going. And so I will praise Penelope Cruz's performance and Tom Cruise's performance, when she goes, let's get some Jackson Cokes. And she's just so damn cute. And I thought that was just a really good tone to set at the beginning of the film.
So listen, one of the reasons that I picked this movie is, to me, this is one of the most devastating movies ever. I get the feels hardcore for this one, and I love movies that make me feel, whether it makes me feel like laughing and it just hits me, or as I like to watch, I like the ones that just destroy you a little bit and make you feel sad. To me, this is probably, if I'm going to rate the top saddest movies, I think this has got to be there, because this is all about missing out on the thing that you want the most because of some stupid mistake that you make, and all you want to do is just take back that mistake, and you can't. And I think that is so hard to watch, but at the same time, it's that cathartic quality about this film that really kind of gets me.
That's what you got. That's what you got from that.
That's a good point. That's a good take.
The whole
That's a good
ending,
take.
that whole
Jeremiah.
ending is just that.
Although I like the ending. I do like the ending.
I'll tell you this much, Brandon. The ending saved this film, and I mean that in a very nice way. I love the fucking ending of this film. But I was wondering, what would Brandon pick for a love story movie? And then I was looking at it, and then the summary of this movie is this: a guy who's been frozen for 150 years, and the person who's been dead during that time is the love story that Brandon wants to see. And I totally get it where you're coming from. It's fucking dark. I thought this was more of a comedy when I remember first seeing it. It's not that. And when I saw this movie again, right off the bat, I'm like, oh, there is more messages here than I didn't even remember when I saw this years and years ago. You can already tell that it feels weird, kind of haunting in a way, like dream state, especially when you have Radiohead, everything in its right place, that song coming around. It's very question reality, pretty much tells you what's happening with the story.
See, Jeremiah gets
in a lot of ways.
See, and I'm sorry. Go ahead. Ed, go ahead.
I was going to go with Sean, what you said earlier about, I was going into this a little bit already negatively, because I remember watching this. I was a little bit frightened this was 2001. I was frightened about the face. I remember just moments. I don't know why. I just remember oh shit, I'm not ready to. I remember it gave me little nightmares at the time. So going into this, I thought it was going to be worse than it was. And then after I saw, that whole point, I was fine. But I agree with Jeremy. There's so many. I just didn't catch at the time. Maybe I was so young. I watched this 2 times prior to this time, and I just don't remember all the points that it hits. And I mean, from the very beginning with Penelope Cruz, wake up, right? And this is like, it was just like this little, there's all these little themes of the sounds of the background of times. Is it a dream at the time? Is it not a dream? When is it? When are you reality? When is it not reality? It was a mind fuck from the very beginning of the fucking movie.
No, wait, Eddie. I'm gonna piggyback on that. I'll tell you which much like it really goes over your head when you watch this. In the opening sequence, right? You hear someone saying, "Open your eyes."
That's what I said. Wake up. Yeah, open your eyes.
Yeah,
open your eyes.
Yeah. But the thing is, that's Sophia's voice,
yes,
right?
It is Sophia's voice.
So she's saying that to Tom Cruise. So right there and then, you know for a fact that there's something's weird because he hasn't met Tom Cruise as of yet. So you have a feeling like something's not fucking like lining up here
a dream.
as like
he walked
part
up
of the
to
dream.
The fucking dream.
Yeah,
it's weird.
See, and I guess this is my issue with the movie. Is it's so disjointed and it's so hard to follow. I spent my time trying to figure out what the fuck was going on, and I couldn't enjoy the scenes. First of all, Kirsten Dunst. Is it Kirsten Dunst? Cameron Diaz. I cannot stand Cameron Diaz. She is a terrible actress, and every time I see her, except for in The Holiday, she's terrible. I mean, she kind of played the crazy
the
crazy part of it. But I mean, I'm just going to take you through my thought process. Okay, so it starts off. Basically, he has this crazy dream where he's alone in New York City. Then he wakes up in bed with her. It was not clear whether she was in bed with him when he actually woke up. I did not get that. Yeah. It's almost like he remade the bed and then she was there. I'm like, okay, so is she a figment of? No, because this is so stupid. Because basically, she is the mistake that ruined a good love story that was really a nice love story, and they fucked it up by. Well, anyway, okay. So you've got Kirsten Dunst, who essentially either wakes up or doesn't wake up. Sorry, Cameron Diaz, which either wakes. Excuse me, Kirsten Dunst. I really do like you. He either wakes up in her bed or not, and then she's like this crazy, clingy, but not so crazy clingy person who wants to be with him and have sex with him, but not necessarily be seen by the party, which makes me wonder whether she's even in existence or in his mind, or is this whole thing a glitch of the fact that he's been frozen and living this dream world? Is she the glitch? Did she even exist in the first place? Was this all about just a story?
You were making this movie so much better.
And then no, because then you look at the relationship between him and Sophia. It was fucking banal. You had no significant moment that was this catastrophic mistake that he made that ended the love of his life. Tell me this catastrophic
The catastrophic problem was the fact that he was so vain.
Which one?
Was so vain. Okay, jumping in the car and giving into her when he said he was going to turn his life around as soon as he leaves Sophia's thing. He gets in her car and gives in.
So hold on. Pause. No, but you got to pause because I want to examine that first. So you're telling me that the mistake that he made was getting in a person who may or may not exist car in a glitch of a memory that may or may not have happened. No, because that's what it is, a glitch, because you don't know that.
But you don't not know that for a fact.
You don't know whether Cameron Diaz's character. Excuse me, that I get that right? Right. So that there is no catastrophic cornerstone of the story. It is just ethos. It's just
no. I think that you are missing it. So here's what I want to say. And no, this is probably isn't fair for me to say this, but this is a movie that you have to see more than once. And I know that you're not going to see it more than once, and that's fine. That you have to see it more than once in order to catch the timeline. You're right. It's throwing into question perception. You're right. It's throwing into question what's reality, what's dream. In my opinion, that's just my opinion, everything up until the bar scene is in fact real. Now, they make it kind of Cameron Crowe does a brilliant job in, I think, making the beginning of the movie in this totally weird, different vibe.
Up until the bar scene?
Up until the bar scene where he passes out in the street, the club. So
on the street.
So the car crash actually happened.
The car crash happened. Yeah. So here's to me, and again, this is just to me, and I'd love to hear you guys disagree or agree, is that the movie is about, or his fall from grace is about his vanity, that he put so much stock in the way that he looked and the way that he acted to others, right? He had to be the playboy. And the fact that was taken away from him, he became a different person, one that Sophia would have embraced if he had just been himself, like he was when he came over to her apartment and they had spent the evening together falling in love. But when he got to that club and he started acting all weird in that mask, and he was trying to cover up who he actually was, that was what the tragedy is that he stopped being the person he was. And that turned him, or that turned Sophia, that turned Jason Lee's character, that turned everybody off of him. And at that point, he realized that's why he chose that moment to go back to, is because he wanted to fix his vanity issue.
But there's also a lot of theories into this movie. I was reading about this because I was trying to figure out, like, okay, what happened here?
Yeah.
And some theories are like this. A couple of theories were, one, he commits suicide and he's frozen and he splice incurs when the bar scene, and then David awakens to the future. Or there's another thing where everything up to the car part was real, and the rest of the film was he was in a coma until he wakes up, right? Or there's another theory that his friend Jason Lee, his character fiction story about his friend David, is his story that he's written up and everything like that. So there's all these different type of theories. Yeah. So when you watch this movie over again, you see something different, you know? Yeah. The problem, I think, where Sean is, and I want to put words in Sean, is that during the time, it just got really confusing. Yeah. I mean, you're just like, okay, what is happening
and the Kurt
here?
Russell
because
character
you have one thing that's happening here, then you have another thing that's happening here.
Do you see Kurt Russell before the car accident?
No.
You hear his voice in the first moments of the movie because I like his voice. You don't see him. But hold on. Kurt Russell was not a problem in the movie for me. For me, the problem in the movie was that it and I hate to bring Quentin Tarantino into this because I think Quentin Tarantino suffers from this in movies that aren't brilliant, is that he puts his form over the substance. And this is what I believe they did here, is that Cameron Crowe wanted to make this disjointed, questiony movie, and he forgot that he was telling a story. And the story was shitty. The story is basically, oh, I'm too pretty to deal with my disformity, and so that was caused by an accident that may or may not have happened by a character that may or may not exist, and that's going to be the cornerstone of why I stopped seeing the love of my
it's
life.
Not why he stopped.
Who really wasn't love of my life was my best friend's love of my life.
That's why the love of his life gave up on him.
Why would you say that she gave up on him?
She did. And
throughout that entire story, it all happened.
The club scene.
No, and throughout the club. Okay, I understand that the club scene, she may or may not have turned his back, but she ran away because he was being crazy. But that doesn't mean that she would have. I mean, the characteristics of Sophia are that she would have always come back, that she would have always shown compassion over not. So what is to say? This is the problem I have, is that the supposition at the end of the movie with what's his name, where they're on the roof. And you kind of have this, like, oh, by the way, I'm going to lift the curtain and here's what happened. If that's what we're going to take as truth, then the characteristics of Sophia changed halfway through the movie. She was kind, compassionate, wonderful. She had a momentary lapse of judgment, and then she basically never saw him again.
No. Okay, so Sean, I'm just going to throw this.
They
out
only
there,
met each other twice.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this out there, and I know this is. It seems like a smack across your face, but it's not. I know that, Sean, you love movies. Okay, yeah, here it is. You love movies that tie it up nicely with the bow, right? And you don't like movies that force you to either be cliffhanging where you don't know what's going on, this vague, ambiguous ending. You hate those, right?
That is not true.
Well, you don't like them as much as the ones that are.
If you're going to be ambiguous, do it correctly.
Okay, so to answer your question, Sean, and then Eddie, you can definitely support me on this one. Is that
Thank you.
After his club shit thing, he locks himself away. Okay, we see this. We find this all out at the end. He locks himself away. That he has pushed her away, and then he decides to do this cryogenic freeze, where he kills himself. Like literally, he kills himself not that long after that club scene. So you're right. He doesn't see her, but it's not because of her. It's because he has said, "Fuck it. I'd rather live in this dream state than in the real world," which is ironic because by the end of the movie, he's realized that he'd rather take the real world and all of its shit as compared to this dream world where he's not really getting any true fulfillment. Ed.
I like that. So he's very vain, right? Is that a good word that you say in the very beginning? Yeah. He's like very, he's
into himself.
So
doesn't even know the songs about him.
So I was going to say, prior to he's so into himself, I was going to say he's already dealing with mental issues. I feel like in the very beginning of the movie, I get this feeling that he's already dealing. He doesn't like that himself that he's with Cameron Diaz and he's playing her. He's with her as a hookup buddy. He says that to Jason Lee a little bit, like, "Hey, we're just friends. We're just friends." And Jason Lee's just like, "That's the woman of my dreams." Like he's already made this, but he doesn't like that he's with her. He's only as a hookup. And as soon as he sees Penelope Cruz, he's like, "That's the girl I like." So I get the feeling he's battling already internally with certain feelings of trying to change. So I want to say this car scene, that party scene of his birthday is very close to each other, right? From waking up, he spent the night at her house. He woke up, Cameron Diaz followed him, and instantly he was already to make the new change, saying, "I want to be with you, Penelope." And he hopped in the car with Cameron Diaz as a bad judgment. And that's a quote that kept, I think, Sophia said, every passing minute is another chance to turn it around. There was that little judgment, that little lapse of judgment that it fucked up his life because he went with Cameron Diaz. He could have turned the right away and just stayed in the car and drove away. But he didn't. He decided to go with Cameron.
Exactly.
There's guilt over that, yes. So, but he decided to do this change, acquire, I don't know, this freeze change, but it didn't work because his mind was still dealing with, I don't know, like he was dealing with shit. So when he froze, his mind took over the bad dream. It made it into a bad dream, right?
Yeah.
So I was going to say, Sophia, you're saying Sophia, she only has met him one time and then the bar scene was 2 times.
Yeah.
So you're saying that, like, she doesn't know Tom Cruise that well. She liked him and she was hoping, but the next time she saw Tom Cruise after the car accident, he's acting all fucking crazy. So, I mean, like, think about that. Like, she doesn't really know him.
Does he like the idea of him? Is that what it is?
No, so here's
Is it more the idea of her is what he's thinking that he wants?
I don't think it's about her at all. I think it's about his person. Hold on. I don't think it's about her at all. I think that Sophia, the reason Sophia is the same person, essentially, Penelope Cruz and Cameron Diaz.
That's in his head.
Is because, toward the end of the movie, is because he's supplanting one with the other because it doesn't really matter who the woman is. He is realizing that his vanity was the source of his problem.
Now I want to go back to one of the many things I love, and I do love this movie. I don't worry, it's not a 0, but one of the things I love about this movie is that his love for Sophia, his falling in love with Sophia, had absolutely nothing to do. I don't want to say absolutely nothing. Had very little to do with her physical appearance, which is completely flies in the face of everything that he has been, right? He doesn't sleep with her on that night that he spends the whole night with her. He falls in love with her because he falls in love with her, who she is, and the possibilities that she allows for the world to be for him. To me, it is such a beautiful, and Shauna, you said it yourself, right? It's a beautiful possible love story that doesn't come to fruition. And it doesn't come to fruition because of his lapse of judgment, because of his fuck up, because of his mistake. And he goes through almost literally eternity regretting that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just don't see it. I guess I don't see this big fuck up. Like, I guess I see a hope and a chance and fate of him getting into that car. There's no decision that he anguished over, that he made the wrong decision. This wasn't Sophie's choice. He got in a fucking car.
But it was right after he said that he was going to change.
But
that's the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm
and he lost Sophia because of it.
Yeah,
I get all of that. So what I'm saying
guilt.
is it's not a choice. It's a moment in time. It's a moment that could have gone either way that really had nothing to do with a change in the character. And this is where I was so shocked that Brandon loves this movie, is because the characters, to me, don't evolve. He doesn't really evolve. He wants to throw himself right back into the misery of life only because they can fix his face. And I really believe that. It's only after the guy tells him they can fix his face that he wants to go back into reality. So he hasn't changed. He's just the same vain asshole that he's always been. And if he really wanted Penelope Cruz, if he really wanted Penelope Cruz, he would stay in that dream world and be with her forever.
But his mind is
really
fucked up.
Wanted her.
His mind is fucked up, and he's still dealing with Julie Giuliani with that whole decision. Like Kurt Russell's character played a big part with like psychoanalyzing his like what you're dealing with in mind. Like you can't get over Julie Giuliani of how you played her. That's why you wanted to put her away She committed suicide in real life.
Yeah.
In real life, that's in his head.
Jeremy,
I don't
Jeremy,
see
I want to
that.
get Jeremy.
I don't see that.
So-
I don't see that part. But what I will say is, if what's his name, Kurt Russell, as a therapist, had spent more time figuring out why his father didn't respect him, and Tom Cruise had this everlasting feeling of never earning anything in his life, that would have been a much more interesting movie to me, because I think that was the source of his vanity. It was this false vanity that he placed on himself, because he
Kurt Russell
grew
is
up
an
with a
extension
silver
of his
spoon,
mind.
and his parents.
He's not a real therapist.
No, I understand that, but Kurt Russell could have seen the other side. He could have explored a dichotomy.
But
and a
Cruise's
change,
character
and he
didn't understand that, and so therefore Kurt Russell couldn't understand that.
Exactly, because Tom Cruise's character did not.
Jeremiah.
There's also a theory that, there's a lot of like biblical reference to this story regarding to David and him selling his soul before he dies, where, the dream is telling him to stay. We're here. You get to actually be with Sophia. Everything, this dream here is yours. And then he chose to go away from that actually and not sell his soul at the end of it. So especially if you watch it over again, Tilda, what's her name? Tilda
Swinton.
Yeah.
Tilda Swinton.
She's actually supposed to be the devil
makes sense
in the
with her.
story. So there's a lot of kind of reference to it. I believe this movie was a remake of a Spanish film that came out in 97.
It is.
Is
And
that true?
It's almost
Okay,
it's dialogue for dialogue, basically.
So Penelope Cruz was also in this movie, right? It's so
Yeah,
interesting,
it's really
man. It's not one of my favorite Tom Cruise's movie, but I'll tell you this much. Tom Cruise is like one of the greatest action heroes of all time, but it's hard trying to watch him play. I don't think he's ever been drunk before. Like, he's seriously, it's the tough thing to watch when he's trying to act so drunk, dude. It's the weirdest fucking thing, man. I don't mean to make a joke out of it, but
beginning of the movie,
when I was watching him, I was just like,
it was just a pantheon of B-list actors trying to throw lines together. It was terrible. And that stupid smile. Oh God.
What do you think the whole mask thing is about, man? Do you feel like the mask thing is something like, hiding behind your true self in a way?
Yeah. I love
Is that what the mask represents?
This is why I picked this damn movie, Sean.
Fully think.
I mean, Brandon, honestly, I almost had turned it off. I didn't want to watch it for another 15 minutes. I was an hour from being done. I literally almost turned it off. That's how bad. It was 2 hours of my life I will never get back.
Brandon, but I'll tell you this much, man. This was my first introduction to Sigur Rós, and as well as got into Radiohead. And what's really cool about this, and I was telling you this, is that I've fucking loved that band all my life. And actually, Hannah got me a surprise birthday last year, tickets to go see Sigur Rós. And I kid you not,
badass band.
It was like the Catalina wine mixer moment. It was fucking
Have you guys ever
amazing.
listened to them?
But
I have not.
You guys need to listen to their stuff.
You've seen so many movies with their music behind me, like different films, but I never knew how much this movie had an impact with me with music, especially with Radiohead and Sigur Rós.
It's Cameron Crowe and his ability to put music.
Cameron Crowe knows how to pick music in his films.
Cameron Crowe, one good thing about Cameron Crowe is he really does know how to pick a score, a soundtrack.
For me, Beach Boys stands out.
One of the things that I was blown away with too. One of the things I was blown away with was how 90s it felt. Like how legitimately stuck in the flip phones.
You mean the Y2K moment?
Yeah,
it felt Y2K.
It just felt like it was a time capsule that I opened and I was like, put it back on the shelf. It's not been long enough.
So I have a question.
It does have that vibe to it.
So when he ends his life at the very end, is he waking up from the frozen life,
from his coma,
or is he actually from his coma, or being
depends
or
on
is
who
he
you
starting
believe.
over again in the lucid dream?
No, I think that he's waking up. I think because we hear the nurse's voice, or what we can assume to be the nurse or the life extension nurse person, telling him to open his eyes. He's finally getting a chance to live in the real world, which is 150 years later. So I mean, in a lot of ways, it's Rip Van Winkle.
So Penelope's already dead.
Oh yeah, she's been dead.
Penelope's already dead, right? Sophia's already
20 years.
So we're currently in the year 2151.
Yes,
is that correct?
That is right.
This is basically the movie as it starts. But so let me ask you something. So does that mean that is Penelope at the end of this movie? Is she there?
Figment of his imagination.
Because it's her voice.
Well, no, it's a different voice.
So was this all just a dream?
It's actually a prequel. It's actually a prequel to War of the Worlds. He wakes up, and then all of a sudden he finds out that the Earth is.
So I'm gonna say this is why he chose the 150 to go, frozen, because in his mind he thought, okay, I could have Sophia in my mind, and I could have my face could be fixed. I should have it all. This guy is a playboy millionaire, and he this is the first time he can't have what he wants, billionaire. So of course he's hitting rock bottom, right? And even in his fucking fake dream, it tears up, right? He can't, it doesn't hold. Can't hold it down.
So does he change? Is my question. Does he change?
I think that you can look at it
conscience.
from both ways. You can say that he remains being a vain guy because he wakes up.
Does he
Sean,
change?
you're going to say no because he retains that vanity because he only wakes up because he can get his face fixed. Except I don't think that's the case. I see where you're coming from. I really do. But for me, and this is just my reading, is that he has realized that kind of going back to that stupid line that I said at the beginning that Jason Lee's character says, right? The sweet is never as sweet without the sour. He's realized what loving and losing love is like. And he realizes that he wants to try something that's real, something that isn't imaginary, something that isn't plastic. I mean, if we're going to call it like that he wants to try his best. Right. And by doing that, he's actually fulfilling the promise that he made to Sophia at her apartment, which is to try to be himself, try to be who he is supposed to be. And I think that that's a beautiful way to look at the end of the movie, that he is waking up from his vain self into this world. And he's going to get his face fixed. Of course he is. But it doesn't mean that makes him still vain. It means that he has a chance to become the person he was always meant to be. Jeremiah.
Because now he knows the sour, which allows him to appreciate the sweet. Is that what you're pretty much saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Eddie, you were asking about the mask and what the symbolism of the mask was. I would argue that the mask was his inauthentic self, his fake self, and removing the mask and going into the world with his true face, even though it was, probably going to be fixed, was his symbolic transformation into a quote unquote ready to take on society, which to me is ruined by the fact that he fucking committed suicide. So if you're going to focus on a bad decision, how about that one?
Yes, but
how about that one?
I mean, I guess it is a form of suicide, but in the sense he's still alive because he's kept alive in this cryogenic freeze, and they're able to wake him back up. So I guess he's technically dead, but he's symbolically dead. Yeah, you're right, Sean. But can we talk about the ending at some point? No, I mean, I'll go ahead and admit it. I was sitting on my couch with my computer in front of me, alone, and just tears just rolling down my eyes with that last exchange between him and Sophia. Oh my God. To me, that is one of the most emotionally devastating scenes in film. And I know, Sean, you don't agree with me, but Jeremiah, you go for it.
I'll tell you this much. The ending for this movie saved it for myself. I just wish there was more part of that ending of the theme of the atmosphere with the rest of the movie. It was beautiful. I mean, it was just like, you know what? I know I can never have you. I don't want to have the fake you because, because that's part of me that I will always keep. So I choose to live my life now. And it's the most saddest thing. It's almost like Inception, like, you're the shadow that it was just once was, and it fucking got to me. I was getting confused. I was getting angry, disappointing, but the ending, man, that ending was fucking, that spoke a lot of volumes.
From the time they get in the elevator to the time they get to the rooftop is, to me, and I wrote this in my notes, and I mean it when I say it is the most beautifully emotional filmmaking I've ever seen. It really is, and that to me is why I picked this movie.
I think it goes back to Kurt Russell. Like, I think the last hour for me, it opened up, like, for me, the first hour, it was like I was all over the fucking place, and then the last hour, it was like, I was really all over the fucking place. It's like, what? Wait, is he alive? Is he dead? I just knew, like, is he in a coma? Is this real? Is this fake? I was all over the fucking place. So that made me put a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I was a dream of Jeremy. And even Sean, like, it was just like, pick a fucking lane and just go with it. Like, it was really confusing. But then the last hour, like, Kurt Russell, like, was able to open up his eyes in his own conscious of like what happened, like, tell me exactly what happened. And then overall, he saw the video in the jail cell, and he was pounding on the window to come back in, and there was this life at the LE life, I don't know, cryogenic, and then it just like from there was just like a roller coaster of events, and then he got into this building, and he's like, I've been here before. It was just like after that it just became real opening, and then that last scene though was this when the guy talking, I don't know his name, but he's like, yeah, and then David Ames was like, so if you telling me I can have Kurt Russell walk out the door, and he walks out, he runs out, and it's hilarious, and Kurt Russell doesn't even know he's fake. It seems like he's like, no, I'm real. Like, I was a little bit confused with that because I would imagine he would know he's fake. So why does he think he's real if this is?
What are your daughter's names? Oh, it's so fucking good.
And Kurt Russell was absolutely fantastic.
He was awesome in this movie.
And I found his probing of what happened. One of my favorite parts of any movie is when you've got like this interrogation, or you got this questioning, and you're going to learn something, right? You're going to learn what he did, how he killed Sophia. I thought the movie was actually going fairly well up until for like 43 minutes was actually when I think the movie took just a turn for the shit. But 43 minutes, as you're learning about what happened to Sophia, and then it's like, okay, I killed her, but I didn't really kill Sophia. I killed the others,
Julie Gianni.
Sophia, Julie Gianni, but really she killed herself in the car, and I abused her. And that's why Jason Lee's mad at me. It just started spinning and spiraling. And there's spinning and spiraling, and there's gaslighting. I love a movie that gaslights a character to insanity. The Game is literally one of the perfect explanations of this. Have you seen The Game, guys? Eddie?
It's one of David Fincher's like underrated movie, dude.
Where they they take Michael Douglas and they give him turn the gas to 11 and say, fuck it, go. That's what I was expecting, like something like engaging and different, and this just kind of like I was like,
but it's all within his mind.
Yes.
That's what we have to understand is we're seeing it all from his perspective.
I got it,
and I get you don't have to
so
like it.
So was Inception, and that was exceptional.
He has many layers in his head that he's peeling back, and he didn't know, like, oh shit, I've been covering this all up, and then it just opens up like a fucking really flower, like, oh, this is what
I mean. Shutter Island did this beautifully. There's so many great movies that have done this and peeled that onion back. I just don't think this is the best representation.
Do you think Shutter Island will happen without this movie?
Oh, absolutely. Shutter Island. This movie is not the first movie to do this.
I think it.
Harvey, 1941 was one of the first movies to do this.
So you think this movie failed at what they're trying to do?
No, I just don't think it was. I just don't think that they executed it particularly well.
Big. I think it was just kind of too big for itself, man. I mean, I don't even know if they knew what they were trying to do, but I do know for a fact that like within like the last 45 minutes, you find out that there's a person here telling him you can stop everything. And then that's when you go, oh, okay, this is completely in his fucking mind. Yep. He's able to stop exactly time. So right there and then, I wish if they're going to bring more of a science fiction element to it, that would have been really cool. Maybe just at the beginning of the movie here, and really kind of just like, because it just feels like, oh, by the way, we are going to stop everything. But if you watch this movie over again and over again, man, there's fucking clues everywhere. It literally tells you everything, you know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things that, unfortunately, if you watch it over again, you get an understanding of it.
I would have almost rather, when they're in the bar scene with that Noah, I think is the actor's name. I can't
taking the shots when he's taking shots.
No. When he's at the bar
the
and he finally confronts tech support.
The tech support guy.
That to me was like a oh shit moment, right? And it was followed up by muddle. If they would have taken some clarity then, a little bit, not a ton, but given you a little clarity as to where the story was heading, at least maybe giving you a little slight backstory about not the whole story, but part of the story, some Obi-Wan shit from a certain point of view, this is what's going on. And then you had another oh shit moment at the end. I think it would have, to me, the continuity of the movie was like crammed all the science fiction, mind-blowing, bending stuff in the last 45 minutes, and it was so convoluted. Once again, I had a really hard time following it.
Yeah,
and I mean, I'm a pretty savvy movie watcher.
My question to you, Sean, and I'm not just trying to defend the movie. I am trying to, but at the same time, I hear what you're saying. But could we understand that mind fuckery, that cramming, that confusion, that disjointedness, like you called it. Could we call it that kind of as a purposeful thing to try to mirror David's mental breaking, right? The confusion that he himself is feeling.
Then you have to,
right? Then
you have to have a payoff.
We get that. But we get that in the elevator to the rooftop, right? So you're talking about after the bar, and he runs out freaking out, right? Because everything stops, right? If that were to happen to you or to me or to any of us, we would freak the fuck out. We would run and we would try to figure out what's going on, and nothing would make sense, and everything would be disjointed. And I think, and I'm just going out on a limb, I think Cameron Crowe, in making this, is trying to say, this is what it feels like to be in the mind of, I don't want to call it schizophrenic because it's not what he is, but a mind that is breaking, is that it doesn't make sense. It's disjointed.
I thought he was being set insane by the board to try and get part of the company. Honestly, I would have much rather had that come to a head and him for sure realize that was not the case. You needed something.
You're talking like a Hitchcock vibe.
Yeah, I needed to be confronted with, a perfect example is I think Vertigo, where halfway through the movie you're confronted with the fact that the movie you've been watching is not the movie that you've been watching. That's what I wanted. I wanted like, oh fuck, what we've been actually watching is not what we thought.
I got a little bit of that though.
Yeah,
I just didn't get enough. I just didn't get enough of it. And that's just my
I'll tell you this much, man. Every time I run into a situation, I'm definitely going to stop and just yell out tech support, making sure everything's fucking.
It makes you think, though. This sometimes you ever get in that feeling of like,
time out, tech support. This world is fucked up right now. What the fuck?
Have you ever had a dream that you felt like was so fucking real?
Yes.
Like at times, it's like you wake up like, holy shit, like that felt real. It made me think of like moments like that. This movie made it. It was just like you're conscious, and then you see that happen in real life. Like, I fucking just dreamed this. I fucking dreamed this whole fucking scenario happened, and it fucks with your mind a little bit. Like, did I make this up in my mind? It made you think about those moments.
I don't know if you've ever done this, but I have this thought all the time that like literally my whole life has been a dream. I'm gonna wake up and I'm 5 years old in kindergarten. Like, have you ever had that thought? Like, oh shit, this whole thing is just not Matrix style, but like literally this is just a dream, and I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna see what I could have. Like, to me, that is the vibe that I get from this movie. And it's one that I don't know, at least I've had lots of times that thought of like, oh man, maybe this is all just a dream, right? That whole
simulator.
Yeah, simulation theory, right? So I don't know.
Have you heard about that 2012 theory?
That we actually all died in 2012?
We
all died in 2012, but our like subconscious mind that we've actually lived out to 100 years and shit like that. But technically, we're all really
think
gone.
that we'd have a happier dream subconscious?
I've seen a bunch of videos of like I've seen a bunch of movies of like glitches and shows of glitches.
We need to reach out and say tech support to
tech support, man.
Fucking tech
for the world.
Jesus.
I didn't want to have an 8 to 5 job, please. Tech support.
Yeah, shit.
I think the situation is that it doesn't matter if it's real or not. The moment it's now, he finally makes a decision to actually look away and walk away from whatever that is actually keeping him there. You know, he's finally making a choice of what he needs to do for the first time, and I think that's what he got out of the ending and whatnot. Yeah. I'll tell you this much: my score is going to be a little different now because I think it's bullshit. You know, that Tom Cruise is one of the greatest action heroes of all time, but he didn't actually jump off that fucking building like he's done in so many movies going forward after that.
That's why. Oh shit! I really like I like what Jared says.
I think the movie. So I don't think he woke up from a coma. I think it is exactly what you saw. That's how I took the movie away from it.
So I think that he, to me, it's. I read it at face value. I think that he had this perfect life that whatever his reasoning was, whether it was a bad decision or whatever, he couldn't stand who he had become. He couldn't stand who he was. And so he reached out for the next best thing, which was this idea of living within your mind. And over the course of 150 years of living within his mind, he realized that he didn't really like living there. And he wanted to have some touch of something real, even if that meant pain and sadness. And I think that was it's a beautiful thing that a lot of movies don't try to do.
And that brings us to the inner review. Now it's time in the podcast where each of the hosts provides a score on the following scale. Tech support, Eddie, can you provide the scale, please?
Did you sign the paperwork? Made sure you signed the paperwork.
I'm just letting you know. Every time I call tech support, I can never get a hold of fucking nobody. So fuck
Yeah.
that.
Well, did you try turning it off and turning it back on?
That's what it was. God damn it.
Is it plugged in? Is it plugged in?
So 0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a filled your first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, you're gonna Uber or Lyft in home. 4, rough morning walk to shame. 5, blacked out, shit faced, spring break drunk that you have to restart your life.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and start with
Sean wants to start.
Sean.
So I look back at movies that I have been critical of in the past on this podcast, and one comes instantly to mind, and that is Fight Club. One of the reasons why I didn't like Fight Club was because I thought the reveal of shooting himself in the face at the end to try and get rid of Tyler Durden was cheap and kind of disgusting and impractical and so on and so forth. I wish that we would have had something physically like that in this movie that basically separated the old from the new. I thought it was unclear whether many of the characters even existed. The Cameron Diaz character, she popped in. She kind of never interacted with anyone else. Penelope Cruz, you say, oh, there's someone who looks sad with a martini. Well, she said it twice. She said it at the party and then at the bar, and the Kirsten Dunst was not at the bar. I would suggest
Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz. Sorry, god dang it. Sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I don't think she existed. I think she was an amalgamation of kind of the titular woman to his story, and that Penelope Cruz was the different woman who he fell in love with. I thought that if they had left it there and started a story from there, a love story that was true and pure and wonderful, and then you had some trippy elements to it, I would have enjoyed the movie a lot more. But instead what we got was kind of a half-assed fall in love story. It didn't hit for me. Something didn't hit for me. I don't know what it was, but it just wasn't. It wasn't enough of a movie to progress a storyline and changing characters that I could forgive it. I'm going to give it a 3.8. I don't think that it was the worst movie I've ever seen, but it certainly wasn't great. It was not great. So there's my score. I'm sticking to it. Jeremiah, go ahead.
All right, guys. I feel like this movie wanted to be a lot of things. It was like, a drama, a comedy, a thriller, all wrapped into a science fiction movie, right? And at times it was confusing. I mean, it's like, you don't know what you're watching, and after you see it over again, you're kind of angry with it because this movie has so much fucking potential to do something really different. And I mean, like, if they would have actually used the element of the ending into the whole movie, you would have had something really fucking great. Because I love the idea of it's all in your mind and how to escape, the reality of your mind and everything like that. This is not my favorite Tom Cruise movie. Most of the time he's behind a mask and I just didn't buy it. His body language. I feel like Cameron Crowe, I don't think he's ever kind of recovered from this movie, unfortunately. And I wish he kind of gets back to, what he was doing back in the, late 90s and 2000s. But this movie is something that you should watch it over again, and you'll see a whole completely different movie. And when I say this, is like, those are my favorite type of movies. I just wish I would have saw something different here. It's not the worst movie. It's not the greatest movie. I'm just right here. For me, it's a 2.75. That's where I'm at right here, guys.
Nice.
Eddie, go for it.
All right. So I've been on the fence with this movie for all of it, all of the 2 hours and 15 minutes. I do think this movie, I think who did Inception?
Nolan.
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Chris Nolan.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like there's times of like this movie has impact of the movies that came after it. This was Tom Cruise was having a dream within a dream here. Like it was a little bit, when you think about it, it was like the idea of it was really cool. I feel like I do see he went into a big depression, and he could never forgive himself of his whole life changed because of a poor decision. And that happens with all of us. There's always decisions that you think like, wow, this could have been completely different if I would have done this. And then you also love your life. It's like, well, I'm happy that I didn't make that decision. It's just like there's all these moments in life. And this talks about every moment has a different road that it could lead down to. And this movie kind of, for me, it showed me like that big picture. I do like this movie. After watching it, there's moments of it that I was lost. But I agree with Jeremiah. If you could watch this movie again, you'll find a whole different path. You might think like, oh, he was in a coma the whole time and he woke up afterwards. Like this movie, it throws you for a fucking mind fuck a lot of the times. The way I looked at it this time was different than the first two times. Watch it maybe with your spouse or your significant other or someone that maybe just a cool little date night movie. I feel like it could be a good movie to end up with. It's a date night movie. It's
going to get weird.
It's going to get really weird.
Jesus Christ.
I do. So I'm going with Jeremiah. I like Jeremiah's score. I was really thinking around it's about the same score, 2.275. That's what I think it's about for me.
2.75 or 2.275?
No, 2.75.
2.75.
Mine's a 2.75.
2.75.
Yeah. I tell you this much, Brandon, like I wanted this to be like the 4 when I was watching this whole movie until the ending fucking saved it.
That makes me feel good. So listen.
The ending was beautiful.
I'm not going to go too long. I talked enough this last hour, but I love movies that defy summary, where you have no clue how to describe it when somebody says, hey, tell me about this movie. And you're just like, just go fucking watch it. There's another movie that we're going to be.
I can describe it.
So there's another movie that I have. You can tell that I like these types of movies because another movie that we are going to be watching later on this season, based off of my choice, is like that too, where I don't know how to describe it, so I just say it's better just to watch it and go experience it. This to me is one of those movies, and this is a movie. Vanilla Sky is a movie that deals with life. It deals with love. It deals with death. It deals with the bigger philosophical questions in existence and purpose. And I don't think there's a lot of movies out there that really have the balls or the ability to pull that off in a package that also kind of brings you to tears at the end, because it makes you realize and feel for what could have been. And I think that's what the whole movie is about, is what could have been and what isn't. And that idea of wanting to constantly kick yourself over that, right? It's a movie about how singular moments in our life affect and change everything, whether it's meeting Sophia, whether it's getting in the car, whether it's deciding to wake up at the end, right? It's about these singular moments. And all of us have these moments scattered throughout our lives that we don't realize until after the fact that they are as big and important as they are, right? And I think that's what a good movie does, is it holds the mirror up to us and says, this is what life is. Don't take it for granted. Is it a perfect movie? No, I think it's a fucking great movie. I think it could be near perfect if and my argument is completely different than you guys. For clarity, I like the disclarity. I like the unclarity. I like that. But what I can't stand is Tom Cruise acting like Tom Cruise, and I can't stand Cameron Diaz to save my goddamn life. Okay, I hate them so much, with the exception of Top Gun Maverick. Can't stand Tom Cruise in anything, and Cameron Diaz has never done anything that I've ever stood. So for that, there's
I like the mask.
Mask is good, but yeah. So those are two actors that to me ruin this movie. So that is a 1 drink and a 2 drinks. So I'm sticking with 2 drinks because of 2 bad actors in a movie that could be absolutely beautiful.
Wait, what actors? The main actor, Tom Cruise?
Yes,
you don't like it in the movie? That's
and Kirsten
Dunst wannabe. I love Kirsten Dunst too. So.
I know.
So I'm going to go with the 2.
Before we get to wrap it up,
yeah,
Brandon, if you would do this movie over again, what actor would you actually play the lead
Christian
for
Bale.
David?
Absolutely. Fuck yeah. That guy can play anybody.
Oh,
so
okay, that was easy.
Can I just say
this?
If we're making this movie, this wonderful, poignant movie, over again about finding and making decisions and changing your life and having that hard decision, I would just make La La Land and enjoy it. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
That's a good call.
Ryan Gosling, maybe. Were you at 3.8?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
No, Sean's pissed at. He sees that overall score and he's like, "That's way higher than I wanted it to be."
No, it's really not. When we combine the scores and divide by 4, and what does Vanilla Sky get an average rating of?
It gives us a 5. My fault. Hold on. A 2.827. A 2.825. A 2.825. Is that right, Brandon? Is that
that is, and that's on. I think that's the first time we've ever had a 2.825.
All right, Jeremiah, where does that put us on the list of movies that we reviewed?
That's a good score.
Brandon's right. This is the first score.
Who the hell goes with a 3.8, Sean?
This is
someone who didn't want to hurt your feelings with a 4, Brandon.
This is actually ranked number 41 on our list.
Shit.
Well, what is it? What is it above? Like, what is it better than?
Yeah, what's better
Big
than
Lebowski.
what's better? What's worse?
So Vanilla is better than 300.
Absolutely.
V for Vendetta, The Ring, To All the Boys I Loved Before. This is 40, and Armageddon, Halloween,
Oh my God.
Point Break.
Okay. Oh, Point Break. We haven't heard that one in a while.
What's
Wow.
What's
I do
above,
think V for
Armageddon
Vendetta is
better
a
than
fucking
this?
great movie. Why do we go
Armageddon
V
and
for
Point
Vendetta
Break?
so low?
Armageddon and Point Break are vastly better.
Because we're
Armageddon is a
hardcore.
terrible movie.
So what's better?
Armageddon's horrible.
What's better than?
Okay, so what's better is Clueless, Scream, Pitch Perfect, Terminator, Rocky, Moulin Rouge.
All right.
No, this is better than some of those. Just throwing that out there.
Nah.
Nah.
I like where it's at. I personally think it's a good spot.
All right,
Or
if you
should
enjoyed our review or a fan of the
Yeah.
podcast, we ask you please subscribe wherever you're listening and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. You could also find us on Instagram at the.gentlemanpodcast. The dot means a lot. You can visit our website, thegentlemanpodcast.com. And if you want to reach out to us, you can do so by email at hosts with an SHOSTS at thegentlemanpodcast.com. Jeremiah, what do we have on tap for the next what do we got going for?
Well, we
month
have
of
one
February
more romance.
Well, we've got our favorite bad romance. We only have one more bad romance, and it's going to be my romance film.
Oh.
We're wrapping it up, huh?
We're wrapping it up. We're still kind of on the fence, you know. I'm not going to tell you folks yet, but you'll find out very soon. I promise you that.
Is it?
I would really like you to do. I know I'm not going to give it away, but just as this is a movie he's been teetering on since season 1. It's one of his favorite movies.
You need to do it. Pull the damn trigger.
Have a little gush, but let's go. Do it.
Pull the
Pull the
trigger.
trigger.
Crow?
Let's watch the movie.
The Princess Bride.
No,
That's just no.
not a bit.
Clue?
Actually,
Anyway.
no, it's going to be When Harry Met
Yes.
Sally.
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, there's commitment.
look at me.
Commitment. I love it.
It's not all about scary horror films in my fucking collection.
Mindbenders.
Close enough.
Like sometimes
Close
rom-coms.
Now, here's what's really going to be disappointing is if I have to go pay for this movie, then I'm going to be very disappointed.
Well, if we have to pay for this movie, we're going to change the movie, folks. Okay, because we're all about like what's on streaming right now.
And thank you all for listening, and I hope you're enjoying The Last of Us, which we should be wrapping up here in a couple of weeks, and we'll catch you next time we are on.
Hey, by the way, folks, listeners, during this time when we're recording this episode, we have a birthday boy
do.
on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday, Sean.
Sean.
Thank you.
Sean, were you
Thank you.
39? 40?
No, I'm 37. Thank you very much.
Yeah, close enough.
No, dude, he's 32. He's been 32 for
Yes, he
108 years old, man.
Bradley.
I
Bradley
wish that
Cooper
I was
here.
Benjamin Button doing the backwards.
Oh man.
All right. Thank
Clank,
you guys, and cheers, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Cheers, gentlemen.
You
Break
know
it.
what? That was a really good one. That was good.